Yeah, we had one. I did it for about a year and a half.
The Pika farms are grown.
Can't blame the germs on McGee.
Oh, I know.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, Wednesday, January 10th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Zamora.
Here.
Boutros.
Here.
Harmon.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Whitbeck.
Here.
All right, we have a full attendance. Any conflict of interest declarations that any commissioners need to make now? Seeing none, we'll move on. There are no special presentations. So we'll move on to item 5 on the agenda, which is the consent calendar. I would entertain a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented.
I make a motion.
A motion for Commissioner Harmon
Seconded.
and a second for Commissioner Boutros. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. So I'll go on to our opening statement. So this is the regularly scheduled meeting for the Planning and Zoning Commission. We serve both in a decision-making capacity and an advisory capacity to the mayor and city council. There are 2 types of public hearings that this commission conducts. The first is a legislative hearing, whereby we formulate recommendations on certain land use requests. Our recommendations are then forwarded on to city council, who makes a decision on legislative matter. The second type of public hearing is quasi-judicial. And that is a hearing that involves the consideration of a land use request, such as an annexation, rezone classification, or approval of a subdivision preliminary plat. The public hearing procedures, as required by Idaho Code, are as follows. First, oral and written testimony will be accepted from those who have signed in to speak prior to the hearing being declared open. When providing testimony, please come to the podium and state your name and address, which will be included in the record. Staff will first present a report regarding the application being considered, followed by public testimony, which begins with the applicant or the applicant's representative, who will present a summary of the request for no more than 10 minutes. Testimony of those in support will be taken, followed by those in neutral position, and finally those in opposition to the request. And testimony will be limited to no more than 5 minutes. The applicant will be offered the opportunity to provide rebuttal testimony. After the rebuttal testimony is given, the public testimony portion of the public hearing will be closed, and no new oral or written testimony will be allowed. So with that, there's no old business. We'll move to new business, and I'll declare the following item open. This action item, case number in ANN 23-15, CPM 23-10, SUB 23-33. Brecken Land Design, on behalf of Parkland Development LLC, is requesting annexation and zoning of parcel R341180000, approximately 39.2 acres, from County Ag to R1 Low Density Residential Zoning District. A comprehensive plan land use map amendment to include approximately 18.25 acres of said parcel R341180000 into the Caldwell Future Land Use Map, and provide it with a designation of LDR, Low Density Residential, and a preliminary plat consisting of 242 detached single-family residential lots and 25 common lots on approximately 80 acres of land in the existing and proposed R1 zoning district. The development proposal of 242 single-family lots on approximately 80 acres equates to a gross density of 3 DU acres, dwelling units per acre. The subject parcels are located on the west side of Midland Boulevard, approximately 3/4 miles north of Highway 2026 in Caldwell, Idaho. And with that, staff report, please.
Thank you, Commissioners. Katie Wright, Associate Planner, 621 Cleveland Boulevard. Before you is Midland Meadows, Annexation 2313, Comp Plan Amendment 2310, and Subdivision 2333. The project location is 80.9 acre site located north of the lower 5 Mile Drain and west of Midland Boulevard. The site has frontage along Midland Boulevard and Lincoln Road. The project site is currently surrounded by agricultural land and a few single-family homes. The applicant proposing parcel R3411800000 be annexed into the city with an initial zoning, low-density residential. The applicant is also requesting a comprehensive plan amendment to include north of Lincoln Road of parcel R3411800000 in the boundaries for the Caldwell future land use map for the with the designation of low-density residential, along with the approval of a preliminary plat for a single-family residential subdivision with 242 residential lots and 18 common lots. The southern parcel was annexed into the city in 2008 with no known plan for development. This site has come through for an application in August 2023 with a split zone of R1 and R2. This was denied due to the R2 zoning. That proposal had 24 more lots, which were smaller than what they're proposing today. And the one on the right up there, 2023, is their original plan that was denied, and then the 2024 one to the right is the one they're proposing today. Tonight's request consists of the applicant's proposal for annexation of the north parcel with the initial zoning of R1, they will also be keeping the lower parcel zoned R1. The zoning surrounding this parcel is county to the north, R1 to the south, residential estates and county to the east, and R1 and county to the west. The southern parcel and the lower half of the northern parcel are designated as low-density residential. The applicant is requesting that the northern portion above Lincoln Road be added to the comp plan map boundary with the future designation of low-density residential. The proposed comp plan designation and development is low-density residential and is consistent with the intent of the comprehensive plan. The proposed densities are in compliance with the comprehensive plan, being 3 dwelling units per acre. Low-density residential is suitable for single-family residential neighborhoods to include churches, schools, neighborhood parks, compatible public facilities, and essential public utilities. The proposed development is surrounded by county to the north, low-density residential to the south, residential estates to the east, and low-density residential, high-density residential, and manufacturing and production to the west. Public agencies were notified and asked to provide comments. The only agency that had concerns was Canyon Highway District number 4, which these were just the same conditions as what they came back with the original application in August. You may have noticed that there was no formal memo from the fire department, but there is an email from Chief Perry that the plat was approved. And at this time, we have had no public comments. For the site-specific conditions, they are as follows. The lot sizes shall not be reduced by more than 10% that is allowed within Caldwell City Code 100203, as long as the development shall never exceed 3 dwelling units per acre. And then staff recommends that if the commission recommends approval of the request, that such requests are subject to the conditions as specified in the findings of facts, conclusions of law, and order of decision. And I stand for questions.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Commissioner Boutros.
I do have a question about the lack of a letter from the fire department. Was there anything unusual? I thought I saw a correspondence from the applicant where they were seeking clarification from Chief Perry, and his response was the plat is okay as is. I'm curious what the issues underlying that were.
Commissioner Boutros, so Chief Perry didn't notice that there was a change in the applications, so he just accidentally forgot to do an official memo, but that email was pretty much serving as his this looks good as of right now.
So there was nothing unusual about the plat?
No.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Wright, I have a couple questions just for clarification. So you noted in 2023 there was a denial. Was that by council?
Yes.
Okay.
You guys recommended for denial, and then council denied it as well.
And just for point of reference for myself, residential estate, what compromises, what consists of a residential estate?
Those are just larger lots,
okay,
typically.
that's what I assumed.
Yeah, with lower density, typically.
Those were my questions. Other questions? Commissioner Harmon?
So the change now is just to larger lots than that they originally requested on the last go-around, right?
Correct. So, there are fewer smaller lots, from their original plan, and, the density is lower as well.
Okay,
The overall density is lower.
thank you.
Commissioner Larson?
Yeah, Chair. For the Canyon Highway 4, was all of that actually met, or just to clarify that piece?
There are more of conditions, that were in there.
I guess if theoretically we approve it, or we deny it, if we approved it, are those conditions that Canyon 4 asked for in the conditions?
They can be added.
But they aren't existing?
Um,
I guess I'm clarifying, are the conditions that Canyon Highway 4 asked for in the plat right now as conditions and findings of fact inclusion?
the applicant may be able to answer that a little bit better.
Okay.
So I did have questions about the traffic impact study and the letter from Canyon Highway District 4. I wasn't sure if this was the right time to bring that up or later. I think there will be another opportunity to discuss that because there was a very specific condition that Canyon Highway District 4 specified that, that needs to be dealt with.
Okay.
So am I hearing, Commissioner Boutros, that that's a question for the applicant? Potentially? If not, I guess we can always circle back to
Yeah, well, we
staff.
can certainly come back to it.
Okay. Commissioner Whitbeck, did you have anything?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of staff right now?
Chair, I did have one more question. I was trying to find it, in the, on the front page where it says things that they've abided by, it says that these developments are unique. I didn't see anything unique about them. Can you elaborate on how they're special? I found it here. Give me 1 second.
Sorry, could you?
Commissioner Larson, was that in the staff report?
It was in the right below the staff recommendation for the policies 2 and so. It says policy 2-3 encourages innovative and unique site development. And it all looked really normal to me, so I was just wondering how they were meeting something unique.
Commissioner Larson, I'm sure that they can address this a little bit more, but I would say, the layout of how this site is, with the shape of it, a road running right through it, there are just a few things that have made this a little bit more unique and, a little bit challenging with accesses and the lack of development out there so far. So there are also some utility things that will have to be done as well, that I'm sure that they can touch on, that they would have to be brought quite a ways. There are just some things that I would say that they're attempting to do a good job with this piece.
Okay, and then one last question, Chair, if I may. Policy 1-1 as well, it says plans for anticipated population household that community can support with adequate services and amenities. Do we have a definition of what adequate services and amenities are so that we have a reference?
Commissioner Larson, we don't, to my knowledge. I don't know if, Morgan, do you have anything specific that is adequate?
The reason I'm asking to clarify is because when we asked last time, I think Robin said there was something like 9,000 developments, and we said we needed 2,200 for the valley. And if Caldwell's making 9,000 by themselves, I guess I want to know what's adequate services and amenities, because the development looks pretty solid, but for the people who live here to have services and amenities for the houses.
Right, so planning and zoning, Morgan Bisa. Adequate services and amenities would mean that fire believes they can serve it, schools, police, water, sewer. The city finds that we do have enough water capacity to work out here. The sewer is going to be met. That, impact fees for parks are going to be there so the city can provide parks. So the fact that none of the departments and agencies said that there was going to be a problem means that there's adequate services available to accommodate.
Okay, so to clarify then, that service and amenities does not pertain to any kind of business. That pertains to just, you live in this neighborhood, you meet all the general rules of thumb so that your house works.
It could be a variety of things. I think in this case, that's what it means, because this is a residential area, right? So it's forecasted for that. If this was an area that was forecast for commercial, you know, maybe we'd be tweaking it a little bit, but right here, we need to be able to meet the residential needs.
Okay, I guess this is my last question, then I'll stop. But so services could apply to a business, gas stations, restaurants, and amenities could be, whatever, conveniences or amusements that would be in the vicinity as well?
So maybe if I can contribute a little something to that. In the past, what we've seen are the Compass reports which address those non-required services, like the adjacency of gas stations or supermarkets, and that report is missing in this application. So do we understand why they did not prepare a report?
They receive the transmission just like every other agency. They tend to submit them, but they do not always. So whether this has adequate services and amenities in the broader sense beyond city services, like you're saying, would be up to the commission and council's discretion, because it is rather subjective.
Yeah, that's fine, thank you.
But you could see why it would be a cause for concern, especially in an area which is just now getting built out, the whole 2026 corridor, and the need to have those services at the north end.
And I would just add, so just by way of reference, it took me a minute to figure out where you're at, Commissioner Larson. So he's referencing the conformance of the 2024 comprehensive plan, which is page 18 of the 177-page document. But moreover, and I could be corrected by staff if I'm wrong, but I think to define it, I think there's some general guidelines. We have to look at the chapter that falls in and what that speaks to. And moreover, that is part of our role as a citizen commission to offer some definition and perspective. So, I mean, I appreciate staff speaking to that to the best of their ability, but, you know, ultimately that's part of when we go through the actual action and us deciding yes or no on these various things, those are the components that we have to define as individual commissioners to make our respective vote. Did I capture that correctly, staff? Okay, thank you. Any other questions for staff?
Are my questions on the traffic impact study best directed to you or to the applicant?
Commissioner Boutros, I would say that the applicant or maybe Rob would be able to touch on that a little bit better than I would.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How about let's try the applicant, and then if not, maybe we can circle Rob back in. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next I will call up, in representing the applicant, John Brecken, is that correct? Will you be providing the report? Perfect. All right, go ahead and name and address into the microphone. Thank you. And you have 10 minutes, up to 10 minutes.
John Brecken, 6661 North Glenwood Street, Garden City. So, this is just overall site plan and adjacent roadways, particularly Middleton and Midland and Highway 26. And I guess maybe add to this a little bit from what Katie was sharing. There's plans underway right now to improve Highway 2026. That is in design, and the area fronting or between Middleton and Midland, I believe, is slated for this year. I've got another slide further on. We'll double check that. Also, you know, the intent here is that this is going to be a very nice development. It's similar to Castle Peak, which is about 1.5 miles to the south, if you're familiar with that. Same developer who did that in the past. And it's almost due south. It's between Middleton and Midland to the south. These are some shots of the homes that we'd like to build. Just for reference. One of the unique features of this development is the pathways. There's a 20-foot wide buffer that encompasses the exterior of the entire development, and then there's also green space in and through, and there's pathways all through all that green space. Some of the amenities we're proposing would be a playground and pickleball court. And I can show you on the overall plan where that is. We've got 1.7 miles of pathways throughout the entire thing. So green space is what is a unique feature. And here on the color plan, you can see most of the lots back up to green space. There's a block that, I don't know if I can point with this, but there's a block on the south side that is an exception to that on the northwest, and then the area north of Lincoln Road, there's a few lots there that do not back onto green space, but by and large, the majority of them do. And then we've designed it so that irrigation water will connect, it connects from the southeast, and then it pipes through and is also used as a bit of an amenity as it goes through the property, through that green space. Of course, we'll be piping to the adjacent landowners to make sure that their water service is continued. And then on this plan too, you can also see the pickleball court and the playground on the south end of it. There's also a new city well that's going to be one of our water connections on the west side. And then another unique aspect of this is all of the utilities extensions that will be required in order to provide those services. That actually will come down Middleton Road and then to the east along Lincoln, and then to and through to the south. That's the things that we worked out with engineering department. Open space, we've got substantially more open space than what's the minimum 6%. We have 12.5% open space. So, you know, it's just, and one of the, you know, when we went in front of council, that was the thing that was, that they wanted us to change, was the fact that we were looking for a higher density, and we were looking to change the zoning. And so we revised this so the whole thing's R1, and then, you know, keeping that in order. So we've changed that to comply with their request. And so then we're right out 3 units per acre is kind of how that pans out. So the lot sizes are larger. We've lost, I think, 24 lots from the previous plan, and so that's kind of where we're at there. There was a question about fire marshal's comment, or what that was during the city council hearing. There was a question about some of the road lengths. There's kind of a diagram we have to abide by to make sure that emergency vehicle access is adequate and so forth. And so that was another change to this plan from the old one, was to make sure we're meeting those requirements. This is just for kind of a reference. It shows where emergency services are in relation to the site. This is a nice overview too. There was a comment or question about other services. I know recently Winco purchased the northwest corner of Chinden and Midland in order to build a new, which is just to the south of this site, in order to build a new grocery store there. Here's a phasing plan for reference, which is in line with utility improvements and emergency vehicle access. All these things have to work in conjunction with each other, and so that those services are adequate during all phases of the development. And so those are things we worked through with engineering as well as the fire department and other emergency services folks. Circulation, there's a roundabout planned at that intersection of Lincoln and Middleton. And for the future, when Lincoln gets extended to the east. And so those are some things we talked to and worked through with the Highway District in order to meet all of their requests. This is kind of a breakdown. This one, we added this sheet and this detail in here. There, I think maybe last time I was here and or at City Council, there were some questions on the lot sizes, specifically the square footages and percentages. And so that's all kind of detailed out there in that information to give you more clarity on what those lot sizes mean, what the square footages breakdowns are, and then also the setbacks for that R1 zone, which is consistent throughout. And that's what I have right now.
All right.
I have more information so I can answer questions, but I wanted to make sure I go over the 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Brecken. I have a couple questions and open up to other commissioners too. Will you help clarify, you made a comment on one of the slides that you're piping irrigation from the southeast into the community, and you referenced it as an amenity. Help me understand how that's an amenity.
Yeah, you bet. Well, I mean, as part of this, we'll have a pump station that meets all of the city requirements for pressurized irrigation, and then there'll be some wastewater that when all the water's not used, and that will go kind of through that open space and up to the north. There's a location there that it wastes on the north side, and then part of that will also be split and piped to the neighbors on the west side so that they can continue to get their water.
And then how long, time frame wise, for phase development are you anticipating?
Well, that's always a difficult question because it kind of depends on how fast these lots and homes get built and purchased. We have 4 phases. I mean, I could presumably say that if things go well, it could all get built out about 4 years. And, you know, I mean, if it goes faster, it could potentially go faster.
Okay. So a year phase, roughly, if things are chugging along well?
Yes, if that's I guess, a general rule of thumb.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
I have some questions. Maybe now is a good time to bring up the traffic impact study. So the narrative that you just gave to address 2 of the intersections in question is good, and it of course does not match the traffic impact study because the traffic impact study looks like it's obsolete and in error. On page 88 of the packet, the table, page 88 of the packet, the executive summary for the traffic impact study shows a 2023 existing traffic signal at the intersection of Midland and Highway 2026, and there is no traffic signal there. I'm not sure who prepared that study and what they were thinking when they made a claim that there was an existing traffic signal there, but that's a bad mistake. That has to be fixed. The table also shows at the intersection of North Lincoln and Middleton, a northbound left turn lane and a southbound right turn lane. But as you know, because you know they're putting in a roundabout there, there are no left turn, right turn lanes at that intersection. It's another one where great caution has to be exercised for traffic that is slowing down to turn. In particular, the intersection at Midland and Highway 2026, the one where you said, Winco is going in on the northwest corner. Between the time this application was heard last year and the end of the year, there was a traffic fatality there. Somebody became overly anxious to cross Highway 2026 southbound on Midland and jumped around a vehicle that was waiting for traffic and hit a motorcyclist and killed him, and it was my neighbor that was the first person and watched the motorcyclist die. This is important, and it also turns out to be relevant. On page 99 of the packet is the Canyon Highway District 4 letter, and paragraph 2 calls out that very intersection as failing, and the letter recommends a functioning traffic signal at that intersection before any building permits are issued. So I'm telling you that, but Rob's forehead is furrowed because he knows I'm really talking to him. We need an assurance that the functioning traffic signal is going to be at the intersection of Midland and 2026 before the building permits are issued. How do we do that? And if you tell me that you really need to go talk to the city attorney, that's an okay answer, because I know this does not come up very often. And the engineering plans that the city has are always subject to change because of funding changes. So I don't know, Rob, if you want to address this?
Yes, I can address this. I wasn't sure if you were asking a specific question or just a recommendation. So the commission has the ability to place a recommendation on the approval if they so choose to recommend approval, that stipulates that there cannot be a C of O issued until there's a traffic signal at 2026 in Midland. We have heard Canyon Highway District 4, they've expressed extreme concern about this intersection in particular, and not having a traffic light there and the issues that it causes for traffic on Midland. Currently, there's not as much traffic to the north, but this development would certainly have an impact on that. I know that ITD is in the process, and what I have been told is that they are proposing to start the next phase of 2026 construction in 2024, which would be the improvements and the widening from Middleton all the way to Star Road. But I don't have a good sense of understanding as to when their traffic light would actually be installed as part of that project. And so that's why when you read the Highway District's recommendation, if there's not a traffic light there, they're recommending maybe a temporary, something put up temporarily during construction so that as soon as houses are online, that there's something there so that vehicles can get on and off the highway more safely.
So it seems like a more certain thing if we were able to insert a condition of approval that no building permits can be issued until there is a functioning traffic signal there.
That would be the prerogative of the hearing body.
Thank you. Back to the traffic impact study. I'm not sure, does anyone present here understand how that traffic impact study was written the way it was, with glaring errors? You know, to make a claim that there is a traffic signal there in 2023 is beyond careless.
So let me speak to that. This traffic consultant does a lot of traffic impact studies, and this is unusual. I do admit that those are pretty significant errors. These traffic impact studies are reviewed by engineering staff, and in this case, I'm not sure who did the review or what happened there, but that's something that we could certainly check on.
Okay, so I think I will ask for a condition of approval that the traffic impact study be updated as well and corrected prior to going to City Council.
Yeah, at least some of those things on that table that you pointed out should be corrected.
These are all legally binding documents, and they need to be accurate.
Other questions? All right. Thank you. Up next, we have Mary Wall, signed up to speak. When you come on up, go ahead and say your name and address into the record, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Mary Wall, 6661 North Glenwood Drive in Garden City. I'm the civil engineer with Brecken Land Design, and mostly I just wanted to get up and talk about some of the benefits to the city for this subdivision because of the master plans for the water and sewer. We'll be extending water from Middleton Road all the way over to and across Lincoln Road and down south, ready for future extensions, part of the master plan for the city, so it helps them build out some of their master plan. We're also required to connect to the new city well, which currently I believe it's drilled, but no connection and no easement for connecting to the water system. So we'll help facilitate the development of the water system for the city of Caldwell. And just wanted to stand for any questions related to engineering.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wall. Any questions for Ms. Wall? Seeing none, thank you. All right, also signed up to speak is Taylor Merrill. Go ahead and say your address into the record, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name's Taylor Merrill. I'm with West Park Company. My address is P.O. Box 340, Meridian, Idaho, 83680. Sorry, start on that. Just want to express our gratitude on this and the application and working with staff in having this plat done in relation to the reduction of the lots and complying with the R1 zoning. I think it was a correction. The lot sizes and the type of homes that we're going to develop out there, I think you'll find are a good mix of what you have. There are a lot of lots approved. It does take a process to not only get those lots or those final phases approved, as well as the design and the review of those design. So to your point of how fast this would happen, you know, I would say more like every 18 or 24 months on a phase by virtue of the growth we're seeing now. And we're also looking for an upscale product that would take a little bit more versus some of the dense projects that are going on that are moving a little bit more rapidly. We understand there's a traffic problem. We're all living through it. It's part of the growth, I guess. And we are a growing community. We're trying to be worthy participants of that. We've had a good experience in the city of Caldwell. This is one of the multiple projects we've developed several over the years, including Black Hawk, Monarch, Castle Peak was the most recent. We grew to have somewhat of I thought, an intimate relationship with the engineering department in the past, and there are a lot of hurdles to go through on this as we proceed into these designs and the final plats. Traffic's a challenge. We'll work through that. ITD, Ken County, the highway department, we've met with them. There were some design alignment issues on both Lincoln and on Midland down there. We'll allow those, the right-of-way through there to cooperate with them and work with them. I apologize to hear about your friend's relationship. It's a tragedy. One of my friends lost his father the other day, and it just kind of sets you back when it hits home. And I'm sensitive towards that. I've also gone through that intersection, and I'm feeling it right now a little bit in regards to it's scary. And you know, part of the challenge of these growth is traffic, or some of the services, the support services. We tend to develop kind of on the peripheral. This is an example of this. West Park participated years ago with the, I guess we'll call it the lift station, or the Black Hawk lift station, that developed this whole corridor that's really, say, southeast, south, or east, southeast of Midland Road. We've had a good relationship out here. I think it's been beneficial to both parties. We look forward to working with staff and engineering in the future on that. We'll work through those traffic problems. The conditions that you're discussing, Councilman, is something to definitely look at. And as we go into city council on that, we'll work with it. Some of it we can control, some we can't. We'd hope not to be penalized, if you will, by the participant or whatever, but more participate and support what needs to be done out there. We really want to be good neighbors. We want to participate. We want to provide nice product out there. So we're sensitive to those things. But that's what we do. We develop property and work through the problems, and hopefully at the end, we're all better for it. So we appreciate your support, and we appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you tonight. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Merrill? All right. I think you're good. Thank you. All right, and then we have one more person that signed up under neutral category and signed up to speak, Jim Kapika. Come on up, say your name and address into the record, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Jim Kapika, 10284 Lincoln Road, Caldwell, Idaho, 83605.
Thank you.
My concern is the water rights to the farm. We farm on the northwest of the property, and as it is now, there's a junction point about 400 yards to the east of our property line that takes the wastewater to the river. And I want to be sure that it continues, because it can't just go down on me and just end up nowhere. Mr. Kafka has a property that he'll be taking water out of the ditch to get his property, and where's his wastewater going to go? So that's my concern, is that I have adequate water, sufficient sized pipe, and there's a place for the wastewater to go back to the Boise River, as it's done for 50 years that I've been there. That's all I have.
Thank you. And then maybe
I have a question. Have you had this discussion with the applicant or their civil engineer?
No, I have not.
I think that might be a fair, maybe we can ask during the rebuttal, because they'll have an opportunity to provide response to your statement here in a second, and let's see if they have an opportunity to answer that question for you, because that's a good question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And so with that, that was the last person signed up to speak. So with that, I'll ask someone from the team to come up and provide a rebuttal or closing statement.
John Brecken, 6661 North Glenwood Street, Garden City. I guess regarding the gravity irrigation, we've certainly looked at that, and our engineers have looked at that. We've kind of sketched it on the plan here where it's going from the southeast on through over to that property. Yeah, that's pretty standard practice. We don't see any issues with it. We've already been in conversation with the irrigation district to find out how much water and those sorts of things. The details of that is always worked out in construction document phase. So we've taken a preliminary look at it to make sure things will work, and we certainly will be abiding by state law, which means that we will continue that water through to the other folks, so that it'll continue flowing like it has since it was originally installed. So that's not a problem.
I want to be certain I understand. It sounds like you're agreeing to everything the gentleman asked for in terms of where the water was going to come from and where the water was going to go. Did I understand you correctly?
Yes, sir. You understood me correctly. Yes, we're not going to change any of his water.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else you'd like to say in your closing statement?
I was going to maybe just pull up one of these other slides here for reference, so you can see we have been looking at, well, these are the design drawings from ITD for the 2026 corridor, for what it's worth. There's also, this, I assume, the Commission's seen this. This are proposed roundabouts along Middleton Road. You can see there's one there that's planned to go in Lincoln and Middleton. And just for reference, and we certainly plan and have been in working with engineering staff to make sure that we will meet all the requirements there and do the improvements that are going to be required. That one. I stand for any more questions.
Thank you. Any other questions, any final questions for the applicant? All right, thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, one.
Oh, sorry.
In theory, McDonald referenced their possibility to have temporary traffic lights. Have you guys done anything like that before?
Well, I have not, no. I mean, that intersection there at 2026, so when we're talking about, that's all going to be designed and installed by ITD, so that's really not, we work with them as best we can, but that design and installation, and Rob probably speak to it better than I can, will be conducted and orchestrated by ITD. They're very independent. They'll be, of course, be working with the city and the highway district, but they oversee the roadways that they have jurisdiction for. And so a temporary light, if they so choose, would kind of be there under their purvey.
Okay.
Yep. So you get to suffer and potentially be delayed for something that you have no authority over. Yeah, we understand.
Yes.
But in fact, that's what has to happen to ensure public safety.
Sure, yes.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're at the point, unless there's any other questions, I would entertain a motion to close public testimony.
So moved.
No, I didn't actually. Was that Commissioner Larson?
Second.
Yep. Okay, yeah. Commissioner Larson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Boutros. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so public testimony has now closed, and now it's time for us as a commission to dialogue towards making a decision.
So I have,
Commissioner Boutros.
I have 3 conditions, and I omitted it. I'll discuss this even though staff technically doesn't have the right to respond. On page 123 of the packet, which is findings of fact and conclusions of law, it mentions 31 single-family homes on 3.5 acres. That's an error. It does not belong in this packet. It's not part of this application. And I had found a different set of errors and requested that those be fixed. A revised packet was sent out, but this error still persists. Because, as I said earlier, these are legally binding documents, we need the findings of fact and conclusions of law corrected. And we may want to read a corrected version into the record tonight so that it is clear what this commission is voting on, because that in particular is very important. So take a look at that paragraph, mark it up while we talk, and let's be prepared to make sure that it's accurate.
It's actually wrong in 2 spots.
It would be repeated. There's a spot at the beginning of the packet and then this spot at the end. Yes, you're right.
So if the commission so chooses, I would imagine that we can make, amend the motion so that it empowers the staff to edit those specific sections and move forward if that's the will of this commission. So insofar as that, I actually think that Commissioner Boutros had
Katie wants to speak.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
Katie.
Commissioner Larson, where was the second spot, if you don't mind.
Let me try and pull it up. It's at the beginning.
Yeah, it's, where the bolded recommendation to the city council, right after that it says, preliminary plat of 31 single-family homes. So 1, 2, 3, the fourth paragraph under findings of fact.
Okay, I see it. Thank you.
So back to my point, I actually think that I want to give kudos to Commissioner Boutros in regard to calling out some of those details, that new those errors in the traffic impact study. I think those are really relevant, and I appreciate that. And so to that end, I would agree. I think you alluded to it, a condition around an updated or edited, or at least a more ensuring through our Public Works Director a thorough review of the accuracy of that information as a potential condition. I think that's a very fair condition for us to place before it gets to council, because that's a very important fact that council needs to make sure that they have accurate information.
Thank you. So the three conditions I have are, one, to stipulate that no building permits shall be issued until there is a functioning traffic signal at Midland in 2026 per Canyon Highway District 4 recommendation. That the traffic impact study has to be corrected prior to the package going to City Council, and that the findings of fact and conclusions of law have to be corrected before we vote on what this is tonight. It's a simple edit, I think.
Can I just answer?
Yeah, Commissioner
Go back to that, and I might, if I can direct it to Rob a little bit. We can't deny them to start building at the will of ITD, right? I mean, they've already got the plan in place, and you said that they were probably gonna do a temporary something. You didn't say a light, I don't believe, but you said a temporary something at Midland. Is that correct?
Yeah, let me just make sure that I was clear on that. The only instance where a temporary traffic signal would be put up would be if the developer didn't want to wait for ITD to build a signal. So the developer has that prerogative. If they don't want to wait for ITD to finish, they could coordinate with ITD and put a temporary signal up. If the developer's willing to wait for ITD, then there's no need for any of that. ITD already has a plan that they're gonna potentially be starting construction later this year to start improving that section of highway. As for the, what was the other part of your question?
I just said, can we deny that?
Okay, yeah.
Just because we're waiting on ITD? I mean,
City
if that's
Council,
not there.
yeah, City Council has the authority to put a hold on development through the approval process, in conjunction with a traffic light. So if the intersection's not safe, City Council can require that no building permits are issued or no C of Os are permitted until that traffic signal's put in. That is something that is within their purview.
But that's not in ours.
Well, a recommendation could come from this
A
body to
recommendation,
City
okay.
Council.
That's all I
and
was asking.
City Council
I
can
just wanted
choose
see where
to
we were at on it.
comply with that or not. It's
Yeah.
up to them.
And so, yeah, just for clarity.
We're empowered to act on behalf of the City Council.
Yeah, so we make recommendations. I think there is the preliminary plat, that's the one thing we do have authority over.
Recommendation shouldn't be that you gotta deny them the permits until there's one. Is if they wanna put up a temporary one, they can do that
And
work with ITD.
And that's correct, and the recommendation did say a functioning traffic light. It didn't say it couldn't be temporary.
Okay.
So as long as the intersection is made safe, it's okay.
Maybe we say that.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with both of y'all, and I would just maybe if it said to include a temporary, which may include a temporary,
Make the intersection safe.
signal.
Chair, just
Yes,
to
Commissioner
clarify.
Larson?
You were kind of making it seem like, just to clarify, that ITD would put in the temporary traffic light? I'm just trying to be very clear on that line.
ITD has their plan to put in a permanent light, and they're gonna stay on that plan. If the developer wanted to develop and build houses sooner, then the developer would be responsible to put up a temporary light and get approval through ITD to be able to do that.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Other discussion?
No, I agree with you, that
Mhm.
intersection's
Yeah. So it sounds like there may be a consensus around those three. Well, I think two of them are conditions, and one is, I guess one's a condition, is a edit. I guess that still would be a condition to the findings of fact. Any other things we want to discuss right now?
I think besides that, I think the development looks good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, if not, I would entertain, I think that we're,
Can we get the updated findings of fact? Do you want to read that into the record?
I think an alternative would be that we would just, because it's not 31 single-family homes, it is,
Morgan Bisa, planning staff. Typically, a typographical error, you could just alert staff and specify that the typographical error had to be completed before they were signed, and we can ensure that that will happen.
Fair enough. Okay.
Thank you.
all right, with that, I would entertain a motion at this point.
I'll move
Jim,
to approve with
do you want to read that?
with the conditions.
Commissioner Boutros.
Okay. Based upon the testimony and evidence and record in this matter, and upon the findings of fact and conclusion of law set forth herein, do hereby determine and move as follows. The request for CPM 23-10, a comprehensive plan land use map amendment to include Resolution 290-23, ANN 23-15 for annexation of parcel R3411850 with a zoning of R1 low-density residential and SUV 2333 for a preliminary plat for Midland Meadows subdivision, a low-density residential subdivision with stipulations, is recommended for approval, subject to the conditions of approval as presented or amended. And the stipulations are: no building permits shall be issued until a functioning temporary or permanent traffic signal is installed at Midland and Highway 2026. The traffic impact study must be corrected prior to going to City Council, and the corrected findings of fact and conclusions will be incorporated in the package.
Thank you. So that was a motion for Commissioner Boutros. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Whitbeck. Any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Boutros.
Yes.
Whitbeck.
Yes.
Zamora.
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
All right, with that, motion carries, and this public hearing is closed. And so with that, we'll move on to the agenda, which is adjournment. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Motion Commissioner Boutros, and a second for Commissioner Harmon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, hearing adjourned. Thanks, Al.
Yeah.